Have you ever tried to do 3 things at once and ended up doing all of them badly? Maybe you answered emails while on a video call, or you read a message while writing a report and felt your thoughts disappear. It feels efficient in the moment, like you are getting more done. But there is a quiet cost to that feeling. Less depth, more stress, and slower progress toward what really matters. Welcome to BetterSelf. Here, we combine simple English practice with practical advice to help you become more focused, calm, and effective. Today, we will stop the myth of multitasking and learn what to do instead. This video will guide you step by step with clear examples and small exercises you can try right now. Listen carefully, follow along, and notice how your attention changes as you learn one better way to work. Chapter 1. The multitasking myth. Why it feels productive. Multitasking feels productive because our minds like the sense of movement. When we switch from task to task, the brain receives small rewards. A clear inbox, a sent message, a checked box. These little victories release tiny bursts of satisfaction. That feeling can look like progress. It can even feel like we are doing everything at once, and for some short time we trick ourselves into believing that we are more efficient. But this feeling is an illusion. Imagine you are juggling 3 balls. At first, it looks impressive. You can keep all 3 in the air. But when one ball drops, you no longer have juggling. You have dropped work. Real productivity is more like playing a single instrument well. A violinist focuses on one note at a time. The beauty comes from depth, not from the number of notes attempted at once. Multitasking is juggling. Single tasking is playing a melody. The real cost of multitasking comes from switching. Every time you move from one task to another, your brain needs time to reorient. You have to recall where you left off, rebuild the mental picture, and then get back into the flow. If you write a paragraph, switch to answer a message, and then return to your paragraph, you will lose the thread of your thinking. That lost time and lost clarity add up. Consider a simple, everyday example. Cooking while checking your phone. You chop vegetables, then read a message, then try to stir a pot while reading an email. One small distraction, an incoming notification, can cause you to overcook, burn, or forget an ingredient. The dish suffers because attention is divided. Work suffers in the same way. A story helps make this clear. A young architect I once met told me that early in his career, he tried to handle client calls, emails, and design at the same time. He believed multitasking would increase his output. Instead, his drawings began to show small but costly mistakes. He missed a structural detail, and a contractor had to remake part of a model. The time saved by switching between tasks was swallowed by rework and stress. He changed his approach. He scheduled focused design sessions and set specific times for calls and emails. The quality of his work improved. He finished projects faster, and his stress dropped. He also began to enjoy his work more. Multitasking can also hurt creativity. Creative work needs uninterrupted time to develop ideas. When your attention is scattered, thoughts cannot build on themselves. You may have fragments, good sparks of ideas, but they rarely become something whole. If you want great ideas, you must give your mind room to breathe. Now, try a short activity. Close your eyes and recall the last time you worked with deep focus. What did it feel like? Maybe your thoughts flowed easily, and the hours passed without notice. Now recall a time you tried to multitask. How different was your mental state? Write down 2 differences you notice, such as I felt more calm during focused work, or I made more mistakes when I switched tasks. Keep these notes. They will remind you why deep focus is worth protecting. To end this chapter, remember this simple truth. Busyness is not the same as productivity. If you want better results, choose depth over breadth. Pick one task, fully commit to it for a set time, and watch your work and well-being improve. Chapter 2. The Science of Attention. How your brain handles focus. Attention is not a single thing you can turn on like a light. It's a set of mental processes that guide what you notice and what you ignore. Scientists study attention and find that it is limited and easily exhausted. When you try to attend to multiple tasks at once, your brain does not truly multitask. It quickly switches attention from one task to the next. Each switch costs time and energy. A clear way to think about attention is to imagine a spotlight. This spotlight can shine on one object at a time. When it shines on an object, you see details and understand it better. When you try to shine it on two things at once, the light becomes dimmer and less useful. You could think you are illuminating two objects, but really you are seeing both less clearly. Working memory is another important idea. It is the space in your mind where you hold information for short use, like a mental whiteboard. If you are writing an email and you try to remember a phone number you just heard, your working memory is busy. Add a third thing, maybe a web page to check, and your working memory becomes overloaded. When it is overloaded, mistakes increase and learning drops. Studies show striking numbers. People who try to perform two attention-demanding tasks at once often perform worse than people who complete the tasks one after the other. In tests, students who study while listening to music with lyrics remember less than students who study in quiet. Drivers who text and drive perform similarly to drivers who are intoxicated. These are strong examples of the real measurable cost of divided attention. Think about the student reading a textbook. If she studies while scrolling through social media, she will likely recall fewer facts and understand less. Even if she thinks she is learning both at the same time, the test results often show otherwise. The brain does not create a perfect copy of knowledge during multitasking. It stitches pieces together and leaves gaps. A useful practice is to notice your attention like a scientist. Try this. Set a timer for 15 minutes and work on a single task. During this time, count how many times your mind wants to switch. Each time your mind moves to a new thought, gently bring it back to the task. The count is not important, the practice is. Over time, you will notice how often your attention frays and how those moments add up to lost time. One more scientific point is about cognitive load. The more complex a task, the more attention it needs. Simple automatic tasks, folding laundry, walking, require less focused attention. Complex tasks, planning a presentation, solving a problem, need sustained focus. Trying to do a complex and a simple task together often damages the complex task most. Your brain can handle background tasks, but it loses its edge on demanding work. Consider a nurse who must monitor patients, update records, and respond to emergencies. Hospitals design systems to reduce the need for dangerous multitasking. Checklists, scheduled charting times, and team communication reduce the stress on attention. This is a practical lesson. When work matters, we must design systems that protect attention. Try a short reflection now. Think of a time you felt mentally exhausted before the end of the day. What tasks consumed your attention? Which of them could you combine without losing quality? Which needed single focus? Write a simple plan to do one demanding task at a time for tomorrow. Notice how this small shift changes the quality of your day. The science is clear. Attention is limited and precious. Use it wisely by choosing deep focus for what matters most, and reserve shallow work for times when attention can be light and fragmented. Chapter 3. The hidden cost of context switching: time, quality, and stress. When people think of multitasking, they often focus on time saved. They imagine finishing 10 things in the time others finish 5 days. But context switching hides a different reality. Each time you switch tasks, you pay a switching cost. This cost is not always visible, but it exists in the form of lost minutes, lower quality, and increased stress. To understand switching cost, picture a train that must change tracks to reach a new route. The train slows, the crew changes controls, and the passengers wait. In the same way, your brain pauses when it moves from one task to another. That pause might be a few seconds, or it could be several minutes, depending on the complexity of the tasks and how deep you were in the original task. A common place switching cost shows itself is in writing. When a writer composes a paragraph, she immerses herself in a set of images, facts, and arguments. If she stops to answer an email, she loses that context. When she returns, she must re-enter the mental scene. The time to return can be long. Many writers describe this as losing the voice or losing the thread. The result is fragmented writing that lacks flow and clarity. Quality also declines. When a graphic designer divides attention between design and social media, the resulting designs often feel less thoughtful. Details get missed, contrast, alignment, or appropriately chosen colors. Mistakes can be subtle, but they accumulate. Over time, the overall quality of work drops because attention cannot be spread thin without damage. There are also emotional costs. Context switching increases stress. The mind that never settles on one task feels scattered. That scattered feeling breeds anxiety because the brain knows it is not finishing anything fully. It keeps a list of half-done items in the background, and each one tugs at your attention. You move from one ping to another, never resting. Over time, this friction becomes a source of chronic stress. Here is a story to illustrate. A product manager at a mid-sized company tried to answer Slack messages while planning a product roadmap. She believed responding quickly would make her team happy. But she found that her roadmaps were shallow and her meetings longer because she had to re-explain ideas. Her stress rose as the backlog of partially completed tasks grew. She experimented with a new routine: 2 hours in the morning for focused roadmap work with notifications off, and specific times for messages later. The quality of her planning improved. Meetings were shorter. Her team noticed the clarity. Her sense of calm returned. Time is also lost in a more obvious way. Experimental studies show that people who frequently switch between tasks complete the same amount of work in more time than people who do those tasks in sequence. Those small pauses multiply. If you switch 30 times a day, and each switch costs just 1 minute, that is half an hour gone. If the switch costs 5 minutes, you have lost 2.5 hours. Those minutes add up, and at the end of the day, you may feel busy, but not productive. Try a simple test. For one workday, notice how many times you switch between tasks. Keep a tally. At the end of the day, estimate how much time you spent restarting tasks. If the number surprises you, use that as motivation to change one habit. Maybe you will turn off notifications for 2 hours, or place your phone in another room while you focus. One small change will show how switching cost influences your day. Another hidden cost is interrupted learning. When you break a learning session into many tiny parts, you do not allow the brain to consolidate information. Deep learning requires time to connect ideas. If you want to understand a concept, you must let your attention linger long enough for the idea to take shape. Multitasking prevents that living space. Consider the difference between a short meeting with a clear agenda and a long, distracted one. In the focused meeting, people contribute carefully thought-out ideas. In the distracted meeting, participants answer messages and miss the thread. The focused meeting produces decisions. The distracted meeting produces confusion and follow-up work. Finally, recognize that not all task switching is bad. Sometimes switching is necessary, as when emergencies appear. The problem is habitual switching, choosing to divide attention even when not required. The habit of interrupting your deep work for shallow tasks is what we must change. Spend a few minutes now to plan your next focused block. Choose one important task, set a timer for 60 minutes, and commit to it with no interruptions. After the block, write down what you got done and how you felt. Over time, this practice will show you how much switching cost was hiding in your day and how much more you can accomplish when you protect your attention. Chapter 4: Multitasking and Mental Energy. Why Willpower Runs Out On. When we speak of multitasking, it's useful to think about mental energy. Like physical energy, mental energy is limited. It has to be replenished. Every decision, every interruption, every time you resist a temptation uses that energy. Multitasking requires extra energy because you are constantly moving between different cognitive contexts. Over time, that extra consumption leaves you tired, slow, and less able to make good choices. Imagine mental energy as a battery. In the morning, the battery may be full. You can handle complex work and social decisions. As the day goes on, the battery drains. Small tasks, answering emails, deciding what to wear, choosing lunch, use a little power. Interruptions add to the drain. By the late afternoon, many people have low energy left for demanding decisions. This is why important tasks often feel harder later in the day. The science of decision fatigue shows that the quality of our choices declines after making many decisions. Famous examples include judges who make harsher decisions later in the day. If you add multitasking to a day full of decisions, you speed up that fatigue. Each switch becomes another decision. Do I answer this message now? Do I return to the report? The accumulation of small choices leaves less energy for what really matters. Dopamine, the brain chemical related to reward, plays a role too. Notifications, pings, and new content provide small dopamine hits. These hits encourage us to check our devices more often. It creates a loop. A notification gives a small reward, so we check more, which interrupts our work and uses mental energy, which makes us reach for more quick rewards to feel better. This loop undermines sustained effort. A practical story. A freelance copywriter I know used to check social media every time she hit a small block in her work. She thought the quick break would refresh her. But each check turned into 10 minutes, and she found herself starting again, without momentum. The solution was simple but powerful. She scheduled 3 deep writing blocks per day, and turned off social media notifications during them. She used short breaks for a walk, tea, or light tidying instead. Her energy felt renewed after each block, and she completed drafts faster. She discovered that mental energy recovers with real rest and physical movement, not with scrolling. A technique to protect energy is to do your most demanding work when your mental battery is highest. For many people, that is in the morning. If your mornings are clear, save them for the tasks that require thought, creativity, or strategy. Use lower energy times for shallow tasks like answering routine emails or organizing files. Another tactic is to ration decisions. Simplify your day to reduce the drain. Steve Jobs and Mark Zuckerberg famously wore the same style of clothes to minimize daily choices. You don't need to copy them exactly, but you can choose routines that reduce decision-making friction. Plan your meals a week in advance, choose a few standard work templates, and set a consistent time for checking messages. Short breaks matter. Breaks that are restful and different from the work clutters help replenish energy. Take a brief walk, do a few stretches, or look out the window. These actions calm the brain and allow some replenishment. Avoid breaks that mimic the same level of stimulation as your work, like scrolling through social media for long stretches. Those breaks do not restore deep focus. They keep the brain in the loop of constant novelty. Try a simple plan tonight. Decide which 2 hours tomorrow will be your high-focus period. Protect those hours. Put your phone on Do Not Disturb, close unrelated tabs, and tell a colleague or household member that you will not be available. After the session, note how your energy was used and how much you completed. Over days, you will see that protecting a small window of high-energy focus delivers far more than a day of scattered attention. Remember, mental energy is not infinite. Multitasking uses more of it. By choosing one task at a time and protecting your high-energy windows, you get more done and feel less drained. Chapter 5. Deep Work and Single Tasking. The Power of Focused Sessions. Deep work is a phrase you might have heard before. It means concentrated, uninterrupted work on tasks that push your abilities and create real value. Single tasking is the practical habit that makes deep work possible. When you focus deeply, you build momentum, enter a state of flow, and produce better work in less time. This chapter shows how to create focus sessions and why they matter. Flow is the feeling when your skills match the challenge of the task and time seems to disappear. Artists, engineers, athletes, and writers all chase this state. The path to flow is simple. Choose a single, meaningful task and remove distractions. The more often you experience flow, the better you become at it. With practice, deep work becomes easier and more predictable. Think of deep work like a weightlifting session for your brain. You do not lift heavy weights every day. You rest and recover between sessions. Similarly, your mind cannot sustain peak focus all day. You need blocks of deep work followed by rest or lighter tasks. The goal is not to eliminate all shallow work, but to allocate time wisely so deep work receives priority. A famous example is Bill Gates' Think Weeks. Twice a year, Gates would isolate himself for a week to read, reflect, and think deeply without interruptions. Those weeks produced strategic ideas that shaped Microsoft. Another example is J.K. Rowling, who wrote much of her books in long, uninterrupted stretches at cafes and at home, free from the constant pull of calls and messages. To build focused sessions, start small. Do not expect to sit in deep concentration for 4 hours right away. Begin with a realistic time, such as 30 or 60 minutes. Use a timer to protect the period. Before you start, define a clear outcome. For example, instead of work on the report, say write the report introduction and 2 main points. Clear goals guide focus and produce a sense of achievement. Preparation is key. Remove obvious distractions, close email, silence your phone, and clear your desk of unrelated items. If you work on a computer, have only the necessary tabs open. If possible, inform others that you are not available. These steps reduce the temptation to switch and help you enter deeper focus faster. Another helpful habit is creating a ritual for starting deep work. The ritual could be a cup of tea, a short breathing exercise, or a 5-minute review of your goals. Rituals signal the brain that it is time to focus. Over time, the ritual itself becomes the trigger for concentration. The brain learns to associate the ritual with deep work, making entry easier. A real-life story. A software engineer faced constant interruptions at his office. He felt he never finished anything. He experimented with a new approach, 2 90-minute deep blocks each morning with headphones and a visible sign that said deep work, do not disturb. He answered messages during a scheduled period after lunch. Within a week, his code quality improved and bugs decreased. He finished features faster because he had uninterrupted stretches to think about architecture and solve hard problems. Balance deep work with recovery. After a focus session, take a real break. Move around, get sunlight, or do a brief chore. Avoid replacing the break with more stimulation like social media. These breaks are when your brain consolidates learning and regenerates attention. Practice a guided exercise now. Pick one meaningful task and write a 1-sentence goal for a 30-minute session. Set a timer and stop. When the timer ends, note how many words you wrote, how many ideas you explored, or how much progress you made. Over days, increase your deep work time gradually and celebrate the small wins. Focus is a skill that grows with practice. By scheduling focused sessions, protecting them from interruption, and giving yourself time to recover, you will find that your productivity and creative output improve dramatically. Deep work is not a luxury. It is a habit you can build that changes the quality of your life. Chapter 6. How to prioritize. Choosing the right task to focus on one. Single tasking works best when you focus on the right task. Prioritization is the habit of deciding what matters most and letting the rest wait. Without a clear prioritization system, you might spend your focus time on low-impact tasks. This chapter shows simple ways to choose the right task and preserve your attention for what truly advances your goals. At its heart, prioritization asks two questions. What is important and what is urgent? Important work moves you toward long-term goals or produces meaningful results. Urgent work demands immediate attention, but is not always important. Many people confuse urgency with importance. The challenge is to protect time for important work, even when urgent matters knock. A practical tool is a simple 4-part grid. Label the columns: important and urgent, important and not urgent, not important and urgent, not important and not urgent. Use this grid to sort tasks. Tasks that are important and urgent need immediate action. Important and not urgent tasks deserve scheduled blocks of focus because they create long-term value. Not important and urgent tasks often can be delegated or done in short windows. Not important and not urgent tasks are distractions and should be minimized. A founder of a small business used this method to reorganize his day. He realized he was spending most of his time on urgent customer support messages and very little on product improvements. By scheduling 2 hours a day to work on product improvements, important and not urgent, he gradually raised the product's quality and reduced recurring support issues, which later decreased the urgent messages. That shift led to more growth and less crisis management. Another key idea is the one big thing approach. At the start of your day, choose one task that, if completed, will make your day feel successful. It could be writing a key proposal, finishing a module of a course, or solving a design problem. Protect your best hours for this one big thing. When the day is done, you will have a deep sense of accomplishment even if other smaller tasks remain. Consider the Pareto principle, also called the 80-20 rule. Often, 20% of tasks produce 80% of results. Identify that 20% and prioritize it. If you spend most of your focused time on high-impact tasks, your productivity increases significantly. Ask yourself regularly, which tasks create the most value? Focus there. A short exercise. Write down the top 3 outcomes you want this week. Then, list the top 3 tasks that will most directly produce those outcomes. Schedule focus blocks for those tasks first. Everything else waits until those blocks are done. This method forces clarity and keeps your energy for what matters. Another practical rule is the 2-minute test for small tasks. If something will take 2 minutes or less, do it immediately. But don't allow these small tasks to break your focused blocks. For larger tasks, schedule them. This rule prevents your to-do list from exploding while protecting deep focus. Priority also benefits from reflection. At the end of each day, review what you completed and what you did not. Ask a simple question: did I use my best hours for my most important work? If not, adjust tomorrow. Small, consistent adjustments lead to significant improvement over weeks and months. A story to close this chapter. A teacher felt overwhelmed with marking, planning, and emails. She decided to make lesson planning the priority in her most creative hours and moved marking to the afternoon. Her lessons became more engaging, students performed better, and her marking time slowly decreased because better plans produce clearer student work. This example shows that prioritization does not just change your calendar, it changes outcomes. Prioritization is not about doing more. It's about doing what matters. Choose your one big thing, protect it with focused time, and then let the rest of your day adapt around that choice. Chapter 7. Practical techniques to stop multitasking. Tools that actually help. Stopping multitasking is easier when you have practical techniques you can use each day. This chapter gives clear, simple methods you can try immediately. These are small habits. Taken together, they create a strong environment for single tasking and deep work. Start with time blocking. Time blocking means assigning specific tasks to fixed blocks on your calendar. Instead of writing work for a general period, write draft project proposal, 9 to 10:30. The specificity matters. When you block time for a task, you reduce the chance of switching into something else. Over time, your calendar becomes a tool that protects your attention. The Pomodoro technique is another effective tool. It uses short, focused intervals, typically 25 minutes, followed by a 5-minute break. After 4 cycles, you take a longer break. The timer creates urgency that helps you stay focused. The short breaks also keep your energy from sagging. You can experiment with different lengths. Some people prefer 50-minute sessions with 10-minute breaks. The key idea is focused work followed by a real break. Single tasking also benefits from physical changes. Create a clear workspace. Remove clutter and keep only what you need for the present task on your desk. If you work on a laptop, close everything that is not necessary for your current task. Use full screen mode for the single document you are working on. These small changes reduce the temptation to switch. Use technology wisely. Turn off non-essential notifications on your phone and computer. Many devices allow you to schedule do not disturb periods. Use those features during your focus blocks. If you work with email, set specific times for checking and responding rather than letting messages arrive constantly. Some email apps allow you to schedule outgoing messages so your inbox does not hijack your attention. A helpful habit is the one-tab rule for research. When you need to gather information, open a single browser tab and limit your search to what you need for the task. When you find something useful, save it to a single document or folder rather than keeping 10 tabs open. This practice reduces distraction and makes it easier to return to your work later. Another technique is task batching. Batch similar tasks together. Group email responses, phone calls, and administrative tasks into specific blocks. Batching reduces the number of context switches because you handle similar tasks in one period rather than scattering them throughout the day. A quick story. A marketer I know stopped checking his messages constantly by batching. He did email from 10:00, 10:45, and 4:04, 30. He scheduled calls in 2-hour windows twice a week. The rest of his time was for creative content. His creative output increased, and he felt less anxious because he was not always available. Create signals to others that you are not available. A simple do not disturb sign on your desk or a note in a shared calendar helps coworkers and family respect your time. Clear communication reduces interruptions and keeps your focus blocks intact. Finally, have a fallback plan for when interruptions are unavoidable. Keep a small notebook or note on your phone to capture quick thoughts so you can return to the task without losing ideas. Use a simple phrase to defer. I will help you after this focus block, or I need 30 minutes to finish this. Can we talk then? This communicates boundaries without being rude. Try one technique today. Choose either Pomodoro, time blocking, or batching. Use it for one full work session and notice the difference. Keep a short note after the session about how much you did and any distractions you resisted. Over time, these small habits become default behaviors that protect your attention and reduce multitasking. Chapter 8. Managing Digital Distractions. Phones, email, and social media. Digital devices are designed to grab attention. Notifications, likes, and instant messages are powerful hooks. Managing these distractions is essential if you want to stop multitasking. This chapter focuses on clear, practical steps to use digital tools without letting them use you. First, audit your notifications. Go through your phone and computer and turn off notifications for apps that are not essential. Email and messaging apps can be important, but many notifications are optional. Turning them off reduces the number of times your attention is pulled away. Keep alerts for truly important contacts and silence the rest. Consider setting specific times for checking email. Many people live in an inbox culture, reacting to messages as they arrive. This habit fragments attention. Instead, choose 2 or 3 times a day to check and respond. For urgent communication, set up clear expectations with your team or clients about response times and emergency channels. This reduces the pressure to be constantly connected. Use app limits and screen time tools. Most phones have features that limit usage of specific apps. If social media is a big distraction, set a daily limit. When you reach the limit, the app locks for the day. These tools help enforce the boundary between useful and wasteful time on your device. Set your device to do not disturb during deep work. Some phones allow exceptions for starred contacts or repeated calls. This way, you receive truly important interruptions, but none of the noise. On a computer, consider using focus apps that block websites for a set period. These tools create an intentionally distraction-free space for important work. A practical habit is to place your phone out of reach during focused sessions. Out of sight often means out of mind. If your phone is across the room or in another room, the temptation to glance every few minutes decreases dramatically. This small step can be surprisingly effective. Email deserves special attention. Use inbox rules to filter newsletters and low-priority messages into separate folders. Unsubscribe ruthlessly from lists you no longer read. Use short templates for common replies to save time. If a message is truly short and urgent, handle it immediately, but avoid letting email become the driver of your day. A student I know used to study with his phone on the desk, always within reach. He tried different strategies: airplane mode, do not disturb, and moving the phone into another room. He found success by placing the phone on silent and in a drawer during study sessions. The difference in focus was immediate. He completed assignments faster and with less stress. Another idea is to create a digital parking lot. When an interesting article, idea, or link appears while you are working, place it in the parking lot, a notes app or a document, so you can return late. This prevents you from following every rabbit hole while preserving the content for later review. Finally, be mindful of social media usage. It is easy to think social media will refresh you, but the algorithm is designed to keep you there. Set clear limits, maybe 10 minutes in the morning and 20 minutes in the evening. Use social feeds more intentionally. Follow accounts that inspire or educate, rather than those that simply entertain without purpose. Try a one-day experiment. Choose a single deep work block and enforce 3 rules. Phone in another room, email closed, no social media. After the block, note how much more you achieved and how your mental state felt. Repeat and expand these blocks. Digital boundaries are small changes with big effect. Managing digital distractions is not about rejecting technology. It is about choosing how and when to use it. When you steer your devices instead of letting them steer you, you reclaim your attention and reduce the need for constant multitasking. Chapter 9. Communicating Boundaries. How to tell people you need focused time on. Stopping multitasking is easier when others respect your focus. Communicating boundaries clearly and kindly creates a healthier environment at work and at home. This chapter helps you explain your new focus habits and shows how to implement them without conflict. Start with clarity. People respond well to direct, polite communication. Tell teammates or family members when you will be unavailable and why. You do not need a long explanation. A simple message: I am working on a focused project from 9:00 to 11:00. I will respond to messages after 11:00. Sets an expectation. Over time, consistent behavior teaches others to respect your blocks. At work, use calendar tools. Mark focus blocks as busy. Focus time on shared calendars. When people see you are booked, they are less likely to schedule meetings during those periods. If your workplace supports it, create team norms around focus hours. Many teams choose 2 hours a day when everyone minimizes meetings and interruptions. This shared commitment raises the team's productivity and lowers stress. If you have an assistant or team, delegate clearly. Some interruptions occur because tasks are not assigned. Make a simple system for routine questions and requests. Use a shared document, task tracker, or a specific message channel for urgent items. Creating a place for these items reduces random pings and keeps your focus blocks protected. At home, communicate with family or roommates about your needs. Explain that focus time helps you be more present later. Use signals like a closed door, headphones, or a do not disturb sign. If possible, schedule focused blocks when others are less likely to need your attention. Be flexible and negotiate reasonable exceptions for emergencies. A manager I worked with set up a focus policy for her team. They agreed on 2 hours each morning for deep work. She also booked short daily check-ins to ensure urgent issues were handled. The team found they could finish complex work faster and had fewer last-minute crises. The simple rule of protected time changed how they planned and communicated. Use templates for messages to explain your boundaries. A short memo can help, such as, "I will be offline for focused work from X to Y. If it is urgent, please call or mark the message as urgent. Otherwise, I will respond during scheduled times." This approach is polite and actionable. People appreciate clear guidelines and will often follow them. Handle pushback calmly. Some people will ask for exceptions. Evaluate requests fairly, and be willing to adjust for truly important matters. But protect the core of your focused time. If you give it up too often, the habit will not form. A helpful line to use is, "I can handle that after my focus block. Will 2 hours from now work?" It shifts the burden while remaining cooperative. Try a short rehearsal. Write one simple message you can use today to explain your focus time to a colleague or family member. Keep it warm and concise. Use it consistently for a week and watch how people adapt. Most will respect your time when you present your needs clearly. Communicating boundaries is not about being rigid. It's about creating predictable rhythms that allow you and others to get your best work done. When teams and households establish respectful signals and routines, everyone benefits from clearer work, fewer interruptions, and more reliable presence in conversations. Habits form through repeated practice. If you want single tasking to become natural, you must build small, repeatable behaviors that protect focus. This final chapter helps you turn the techniques we discussed into consistent habits that last. Start with tiny wins. The human brain loves small successes because they build confidence. Choose a simple habit you can do every day. For example, commit to a 15-minute focus block in the morning for a week. Keep it tiny so you can't fail. When you complete the block, you get the satisfaction of success, which makes you want to repeat it. Use habit stacking. Attach your new focus habit to something you already do. If you make coffee every morning, stack a 5-minute planning session after you pour the cup. Or if you check your calendar at the start of the day, use that moment to choose your one big thing. Habit stacking reduces friction because it uses an existing cue to trigger the new behavior. Track your progress. Keep a simple log of your focus sessions. It could be a checkbox on a calendar or a short note that says what you worked on. Visual progress, seeing check marks grow, supports motivation. You will find it easier to maintain the habit when you can watch days stack into weeks. Reward yourself. After completing focused blocks, do something small that feels rewarding. It could be a short walk, a cup of tea, or 5 minutes of free time. The reward tells your brain this behavior is valuable and worth repeating. Over time, the internal reward of seeing progress replaces external rewards. Expect setbacks. Habits do not form in a straight line. You will have days when interruptions win, or your willpower is low. When that happens, do not berate yourself. Note what interrupted you, make a small adjustment, and try again. The most successful people are not those who never fail, but those who get back on track quickly. Build social accountability. Tell a friend or colleague about your intention to single task. Share your goal and ask them to check in. Accountability can be a powerful motivator. You might find a partner to do focus blocks together, even virtually. The shared rhythm helps both of you stay committed. Make your environment supportive. Over time, adjust your workspace, tools, and schedules to favor single tasking. A tidy desk, a clear calendar, and a few essential apps make it easier to start focus sessions. Remove habits that encourage multitasking, for instance, keeping multiple devices on your desk. and replace them with rituals that begin focus time. Create a weekly review. Each week, spend a short time reviewing what worked and what didn't. Did you protect your best hours? Did interruptions increase? Which techniques helped the most? Use this review to plan the next week's focus blocks. Small course corrections keep you aligned and moving forward. A final story to inspire you. A teacher decided to build single tasking into her life slowly. She started with 15 minutes of focused reading each morning and added one 30-minute planning block in the afternoon after 3 weeks. Over months, those small habits grew. She became more productive and less anxious about unfinished tasks. Her students noticed the change. Her evenings became calmer because she finished more at work. The small, steady practice of single tasking transformed her professional and personal life. Try one last exercise. Choose a habit to start tomorrow. One focus block, one ritual to start work, or one habit stack. Keep it small and track it. Do this consistently for 21 days and then reflect on the difference. The true advantage of single tasking is found in daily repetition, not in occasional bursts. We began by challenging the belief that multitasking makes you more productive. We explored the science of attention, the hidden cost of switching, and how mental energy is spent. We learned practical methods, time blocking, Pomodoro, batching, and digital boundaries, and we saw how to communicate focus to others. Finally, we discussed habit formation so single tasking becomes lasting. If you take one idea from this video, let it be this: your attention is your most valuable resource. Guard it like you would any other asset. Protect it with simple systems, small habits, and clear communication. When you do, your work will improve, your stress will fall, and your days will feel more meaningful. You can start now. Choose one focus block, protect it, and notice the difference. Small steps lead to big changes. If you found this helpful, please subscribe to BetterSelf for more calm lessons that help you improve your English while becoming your best self. Thank you for listening. Keep practicing, keep focusing, and be kind to your attention.